Dear students, I welcome you all to this short orientation session on the optional paper Intellectual Property Rights 2, which course code is LB-5037. In fact, this course is an extension and tipping of what some of you may have already studied in part 1, Intellectual Property Rights Law 1. And this paper in fact brings to focus some of the most dynamic, contemporary and globally significant domains of intellectual property. As you all know, that in today's knowledge-driven economy, IP is the power. And understanding these rights is essential not just for lawyers, but for entrepreneurs, content creators, scientists, policymakers, and all those who are in the field of research and development. And that's why this paper becomes very, very important. As far as our course relating to this paper is concerned, so mainly it covers some important components of IP like copyright, patents, trade secrets, traditional knowledge and folklore, and international conventions on intellectual property rights. So first of all, I would like to tell you something about copyright. So whenever we talk about copyright, it is to do with the creativity. And it is said that more and more creativity, more and more good to the society. And that makes this particular area important. And this is most frequently used intellectual property right. So mainly copyright covers certain important areas of creativity like literary work, artistic work, musical work, dramatic work, cinematograph film and sound recording. In India, we have a statutory law to regulate this branch of IP. We have Copyright Act 1957. And as far as this course on copyright is concerned, so it mainly explores the originality of that creativity, authorship, ownership, fair dealing, and there are certain statutory exemptions covered under Section 52 of the Copyright Act. So we will be discussing on these areas of copyright along with cases. And that's why here I would like to tell you about this copyright that in most of the areas of creativity like films, songs, digital media, and now definitely the social media content. So you might have seen certain complications, the legal issues relating to social media content. So we will be focusing on these areas as well. Other than this, definitely certain moral rights are also involved in copyright. Apart from copyright, author's right, author's economic right, certain special rights are also there, and these special rights are known as moral rights. So we will be discussing moral rights as well. And here definitely some important cases are there like Amarnath Sahgal versus Union of India. So they deal with this particular special right. Other than this copyright, the next segment of this paper is patents. And whenever we talk about patents, it has to do with invention. Again, it is said that more and more invention, more and more good to the nation. So patent protects invention. So new, useful, non-obvious processes or products. So they are in fact protected under this branch of law. Here also we have a statutory law. We have Indian Patents Act and this Indian Patents Act has been amended at several occasions in the light of certain international conventions. So here we will be discussing what can be patented, what cannot be patented. So section 3 of the Patents Act becomes very, very important, and it says what cannot be patented. One more important part here is what? That whenever we talk about this patent, we all know that only inventions get protection of the patent. Discoveries are not getting protection of the patent. And one more thing which is very important here, that these rights are limited rights. These rights are not absolute rights. And here term is already provided by our law. As far as patent is concerned, we have 20 years, and this protection is available for 20 years. Thereafter, it falls in the public domain. Anybody can make use of this without asking or without getting a permission from owner of that intellectual property right, the patent. Here also we will be discussing certain important aspects of patents like licensing, including the compulsory licensing. Compulsory licensing, why I am saying, because this law strives to make a balance between two conflicting interests, private interest and public interest. So private interest, definitely many provisions are there. They confer various rights on patent holder. But when we talk about this public interest, so definitely through compulsory license, we try to protect or we try to safeguard that interest, which is public interest. So when public is in great need of certain inventions, intervention takes place from the side of the sovereign, the state, and a license is granted even against the wishes of that patent holder. So it makes this subject very interesting. So we will be discussing all these aspects of patents. Apart from this, we will also be discussing in this class the traditional knowledge. And where I talk about the traditional knowledge, so it mainly deals with the collective intergenerational knowledge of communities. And where we talk about this intergenerational knowledge of the communities, mainly it covers the medicines, the agriculture, the folklore, and biodiversity as well. So this part, the traditional knowledge, popularly known as TK, traditional knowledge. So this is often exploited without consent or compensation, and that's why it poses a kind of threat to the possessor of this particular right. Here I can give you example of the biopiracy, etc. So that's the major threat to this kind of right, biopiracy, and how to prevent, how to curb these cases of or instances of biopiracy, what legal mechanism we have. So we will be discussing all about. And as far as direct legal protection is concerned, so here I would like to tell you that this is not directly covered by our conventional intellectual property law. Rather, we have certain other mechanisms to protect this area of right. Say for example, the government initiatives like establishment of the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, popularly known as TKDL. So this is also the area, and certain international instruments are there, certain international conventions are there, and being signatory to those international conventions, we offer certain kind of protection to this area. Other than this, we will be discussing one more area, that is trade secret. And as far as India is concerned, we do not have any specific law on trade secret, but they are protected through contractual obligations and equity-based remedies. So we will be discussing this scope of trade secret protection, as far as our Indian legal regime is concerned. So we will be discussing this important area also. Apart from all these, we will be discussing certain international conventions, the important international conventions in the field of IP, like TRIPS agreement, the WTO, World Trade Organization, and you all know that TRIPS was part and parcel of the WTO, and we will be discussing all important provisions of TRIPS agreement, Bern Convention, we will be talking about Paris Convention and WIPO treaties and some other international instruments. And we'll try to see how these international conventions are useful and they are guiding force for IP protection in Indian legal regime. So in this background, I would like to tell you that this course is very important and interesting, and it's interesting not only for litigation, IP litigation. This is also interesting for media and entertainment law, technology law, pharmaceutical, agricultural innovations, and certain other policies and international negotiations. So this is very important area. And at the last, I would like to suggest all my students that if you choose this paper, definitely if you are curious about how to interact in this knowledge-driven society and how law interacts with creativity, innovation, tradition and globalization, so you will find more interest, and this would be very helpful for your interest and your purposes. So that's all, and I thank you all for listening this short session on intellectual property rights 2, and I look forward to having you in the class, and definitely this paper would give you comprehensive knowledge about intellectual property rights and the more important areas of intellectual property rights like copyright, patents and trade secret. Thank you all.